This clip is brought to you by SaveWithConrad.com.
Well, we're going to feed you some more Magnum TA today. How about that? One of the all-time greats, Terry Allen, and what a story he's got. We're covering him today because tomorrow is his birthday. Born June 11th, 1959 in Chesapeake, Virginia. Magnum begins his training and career based out of Championship Wrestling from Florida around 1978. When did you first hear about Terry Allen or the Magnum character? Was it based in Florida, or once he's working for Watts, is he on your radar?
Well, he was in Florida, and Cowboy and I would look at tapes, Championship Wrestling tapes from Florida, because Eddie Graham or whomever the booker was at that point in time was always trying to do talent trades, keep your roster fresh, bring in a new face, a new opponent for one of your top guys, whatever it may be. So we would look at these tapes, and Terry Allen always stood out because his look was amazing.
Right.
He's 6'3", 6'4" guy. He had a great symmetry. He was athletic. He looked real. He didn't have his body shaved. He didn't have a zillion tattoos. He looked very natural and real. And Cowboy loved the realism. Plus, he was a good amateur wrestler. He could take care of himself. But there's where I first saw him. I didn't hear about him. But then Bill and I were talking one day about, I just got off the phone with Dusty. We're going to bring this kid in. He's really high on that. We're going to give a run as a babyface, Terry Allen. And he didn't have the Magnum TA name at that point in time. I think he got Magnum TA from Cowboy or Cowboy's wife or somebody. He was very popular with the female audience. and obviously I know it's almost mundane to talk about. It's maybe morbid for some people, but dang, Conrad, that was part of the babyface's job description, was to appeal to the ladies.
Of course.
And whatever that term may take on is what you're expected to do.
So let's talk a little bit about Andre the Giant. The story is supposedly Andre the Giant is the guy who combines the Magnum name with the initials of his real name, Terry Allen. Do you remember hearing that maybe Andre would be the guy? Because it's fascinating. Like when you talk to a guy like Arn Anderson and he says, man, Junkyard Dog is the one who suggested that I looked like Ole Anderson. And then of course, when he met Ole, he had heard, hey, they got a guy coming in who looks just like you. I'll be damned. You do look like me. Now your name is Arn, and ta-da, Arn Anderson's born.
Yeah.
It's fascinating to me that JYD named Ole Anderson and perhaps Andre the Giant named Magnum TA.
I don't know the answer to that. Is it possible? Heck yeah, it's possible, because obviously when Andre spoke, everybody listened.
Of course.
He was the boss. So I don't know the exact origins. I'll tell you this, someday if you ever talk to the Cowboy, there's your answer.
Yeah.
He'll know, because he really spent a lot of time molding and managing Magnum to only let him do things he was good at doing, and to not overbook him with somebody that's going to eat him alive to get themselves over.
Let my family save your family some cash. You don't need perfect credit. You don't need money out of your pocket, but we will save you money. It's not a matter if, it's a matter of how much. SaveWithConrad.com. Well, let's talk about what's next for him. I think everybody knows that he really made his name in Mid-South Wrestling. In 84, he's renamed Magnum TA. And of course, a lot of this is based on his resemblance to Tom Selleck, who then had a hit TV show. And this is before everybody had cable. This is before everybody had, streaming services, and TV was sort of the bee's knees. If you were on network television, boy, you were something else. And Tom Selleck was the guy riding around in Hawaii in his badass ride. He's Magnum PI. So I don't know that everybody maybe put that together, because I even was explaining that to some wrestling fans, I don't know, earlier this year. And they're like, what? It was based on a TV show? Because these days people would say, oh, that's hokey. But somehow Terry Allen pulled it off. Magnum TA was pretty fucking cool name, huh?
Yeah, it's a different generation too. People looked at things a little bit differently than they do now, with less a less cynical vent, shall we say.
Sure.
But Terry did look like Tom Selleck in Tom Selleck's role. The mustache was the giveaway. And of course, his name was Terry Allen. So Magnum TA, Magnum Terry Allen, was a cowboy thing. And Bill was good at that kind of stuff. So among other things, creatively. So that's how that name came about. And, luckily it stuck and it wasn't forced upon the public. The public kind of said, okay, that's cool. I get it.
Yeah.
And they went along with it.
When do you first remember meeting Terry Allen?
I met him, I think, the first time when he came to Cowboys' office in Mid-South to get started. Moving there and getting settled and moving to the territory. I think he probably lived in Louisiana. Most of the guys did. And nice kid, he's very personable. He was good looking in person as he was on camera. He's in great shape, very impressive. He's one of those the cowboy rules. If you walk through the airport, Conrad, you would notice him.
Okay.
If not, your wife would. In all due respect.
Is that a cowboy rule of thumb? I mean, we've heard that with Vince McMahon. I didn't know that was Cowboys' deal too.
Absolutely. He was always looking at people in the airports, cowboy. So we saw a guy walk through the airport one time, started about 5'10", maybe less. Had these giant quads, these huge thighs. And Cowboy said, he's been doing squats. Just out of the blue. So, his wheels are turning.
Right.
Is this kid? So if the kid had come over to Cowboy and introduced himself, he might have got an audition someplace in time.
Wow.
Because that's the look that attracted Bill out of that crowd of people in the airport. So if you turned ahead in a crowd of people, as in an airport, then that you moved up on the list. So that's what it was all about, recognition and remembering somebody. But Terry's the kind of guy that had that great look. The hair was perfect. Mustache was on point. He was he could have been a matinee idol. I don't know what his acting chops were, Conrad, as far as a Rocky type actor,
right.
Dwayne Johnson type, but he had the look. No doubt he had the look.
Talk to me a little bit about, when you first become introduced to him. This is a different time for wrestling. This is very much the territory era. Guys are going to come in and usually have a start date and an end date. Did he have an aspiration to really dig his heels in with Bill? Was Bill bringing him in saying, okay, we're going to give you 6 weeks, and then it just worked out and he stays on?
Long term. Bill had seen enough tape. Bill had enough conversations with Dusty about it. And Dusty was always Magnum's mentor. A lot of Terry was around a lot of great talents, including your father-in-law and others, who could teach him a lot, help him a lot. But Dusty was his guy. And Dusty and Cowboy had a great relationship over the years. Bill's the one that gave Dusty the nickname, the American Dream, and turned him heel in Florida, or turned him babyface. So they conversed a lot, booking ideas, shooting a breeze, lying to each other about caught the biggest fish yesterday or something. Or the OU Texas game was always a topic of conversation that usually ended up with a great deal of profanity and money's waged that were never paid. Those some bitches made bets on that game every year, and I don't know if any money ever changed hands. I'll get you next time. I'll see you down the road. The same deal. They worked each other, but they also saved their money.
Right.
So in those days, when a kid would come to the office, I might be asked to kind of go over our schedule, our routine. We had a routine. Every Tuesday, we were in Shreveport to shoot the interviews to the local markets, the local towns, selling local tickets, and do those for several hours. And then every other Wednesday, we would go to the Irish O'Neill Boys Club on the fairgrounds there in Shreveport and shoot Mid-South Wrestling, 2 one-hour shows. Now, that was our routine. And around that, we had live event schedule. And the talents wanted to be on those live events because they didn't get paid one dime for television. Nothing. So and the guys that were on the north end of the territory had to get down to Shreveport on Tuesdays, and the guys in Shreveport, no matter where you're booked, if you're booked for interviews, you got to be there on Tuesday, no matter where you got to come from. So I explained all that crap to him, and just got to know him a little bit better, because I'm going to be interviewing him, and we're going to be doing features. And Bill really wanted to push this kid, and the plan was for us to keep him, get him hot, get him over, help us draw some money. And then when it was time for him to go back to Charlotte, which was always the plan, to work for JCP, then we would be given ample notice. And generally, on a top guy leaving a territory, you wanted the perfect window to keep a booker owner happy was 6 weeks on a top guy. So if you're a top guy and you'd have been a top guy, Conrad, boom, there you go, and you're leaving to go someplace else. Well, I'm going to keep you 6 weeks while you work your way out, and we can maximize your stay here. We can maximize you being over and draw some more houses that, by the way, you're going to get paid for.
Right.
So that's kind of how that was. And we just, but I know he's a college educated kid. I think he went to Old Dominion. Magnum did, I believe, and smart kid, well educated. He had good parenting. All those things you can feel in those conversations. And it's better than somebody telling you how their last stint in prison was.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And go save yourself some money right now. If you're in a 30-year loan or you have credit card debt, it's not a matter of if I can save you money. It's a matter of how much. Find out right now for free at savewithconrad.com.